Act as if you are the best. No one is better than you. There is a truth that most people never fully confront. You are not less than anyone. Not in potential, not in worth, not in ability. Yet, somewhere along the line, life, comparison, and doubt convinced you to live beneath your own power. You learn to shrink. You learn to question yourself. You learn to measure your value through the eyes of people who never understood your future. And every time you did, you stepped further away from the person you were meant to become. But today that ends. Today you reclaim the identity that life tried to take from you. Because confidence is not a gift. It's a decision. Presence is not inherited. It's chosen. Identity is not discovered. It's built. And the next 90 minutes you spend here are not about becoming someone new. They're about returning to the person you were always meant to be. Before fear softened you, before doubt shrank you, before the world told you to lower your voice. This audiobook is a reconstruction of your identity. Brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action. You will learn the truth that only a small percentage of people ever understand. The way you show up shapes the world's response to you. Not your history, not your background, not your circumstances, your identity. If you show up small, the world shrinks you further. If you show up uncertain, the world questions your worth. But when you show up with the energy of the best, even before the results appear, the world has no choice but to adjust. Because results follow identity, success follows belief. Opportunities follow presence. And this audiobook is designed to rebuild every part of the presence you lost along the way. Through 10 powerful chapters, you will learn how to rise into the version of you that life has been waiting to meet. The version that can walk into any room with authority, lead yourself with clarity, and hold standards so strong that your future begins to rearrange itself around them. You will begin by building the strongest version of yourself, the version rooted in discipline, identity, and self-trust. Without this foundation, nothing else stands. But once you have it, everything begins to align. Then you will cut the noise that steals your focus. You will guard your mind with intention, learning how to silence doubt, comparison, and every external voice that tries to overpower your inner one. Next, you will discover how to believe in yourself even when no one else does. And you will understand why the world only supports you after you support yourself first. Chapter 1. Build the strongest version of you. Strength is not something you stumble into. Strength is something you build deliberately, one decision at a time. Most people wait for strength the way others wait for luck, as if one day they'll wake up suddenly confident, suddenly disciplined, suddenly unstoppable. But strength doesn't appear like a miracle. It appears like a structure. You build it brick by brick, habit by habit, identity by identity. And the person you will become tomorrow is shaped by the actions you choose today. You cannot act like the best while thinking like the weakest version of yourself. If your identity is rooted in past failures, old labels, or inherited insecurities, no amount of external success will make you strong. Confidence begins on the inside long before the world ever sees evidence of it. And that is why this chapter is the foundation of everything that follows. Because without inner strength, every other skill cracks under pressure. You've been taught to measure yourself by outcomes. Your wins, your losses, your performance, your achievements. But the truth is far more powerful. Outcomes don't build identity. Identity builds outcomes. A strong identity produces a strong life. A weak identity produces a fragile one. Strength begins with the decision to stop waiting and start becoming. The first place to rebuild your identity is in the beginning of your day. Your mornings are the command center of your life. Before the world speaks, before responsibilities pile up, before distractions find you, your mind is still yours. What you do in these first moments determines the tone of every decision that follows. The strongest people in the world share one thing in common. They don't negotiate their mornings. They claim them. 1 hour without your phone puts your mind back into leadership mode. One action that builds momentum, reading, moving your body, writing your goals, realigns you with who you are becoming. And 3 identity statements anchor your mindset into strength. I show up. I am enough. I lead my life. These are not motivational phrases. They are psychological anchors. They interrupt the patterns of self-doubt that used to control you. They shift your nervous system into readiness. They remind you that you are responsible for your state, not your circumstances. Your morning is not just a routine. Your morning is an identity ritual. But strength isn't just about rituals. It's about rewriting the internal story of who you are. If your inner voice is still shaped by old criticism, old mistakes, or old versions of yourself, you will sabotage your new life with outdated beliefs. You must begin speaking to yourself like someone who is building greatness, not someone who is barely surviving. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't," challenge it. When you hear, "I'm not good enough," replace it. When your mind brings up past failures, answer with your present intention. This is not delusion, this is discipline. Mental discipline, identity discipline. Strength becomes real the moment you stop letting your emotions lead and start letting your standards lead instead. Standards are the spine of your identity. They tell your mind what is acceptable, what is non-negotiable, what is beneath you, and what your future demands from you. A strong identity refuses to shrink to fit weak habits. Your standards become your silent language, how you speak to yourself, how you take care of your body, how you set boundaries, how you manage your attention, how you execute your commitments. And when your standards rise, your decisions automatically rise with them. You cannot build a strong life with weak standards. Now, strength isn't intensity. Strength is consistency. Anyone can be disciplined for a day. Anyone can be motivated for a week. But the strongest version of you is built by the days where nothing seems exciting, where progress feels slow, where the work is repetitive. Consistency doesn't look glamorous, but it builds a foundation that can't be shaken. There is a reason elite performers rely on identity-based habits. Identity outlasts motivation. Identity outlasts mood. Identity outlasts fear. If you want to build the strongest version of yourself, don't ask, "What do I feel like doing today?" Ask, "What action aligns with the person I'm becoming?" That single question can change the trajectory of your life, because identity is not something you wait for. Identity is something you choose. But becoming strong also means confronting the weaker parts of yourself with honesty. You must acknowledge when you've been undisciplined. You must recognize when you've made excuses. You must see the moments where comfort won the battle over growth. Not to shame yourself, but to understand yourself. Self-awareness builds self-correction. Self-correction builds self-rust. Self-rust builds strength. And strength builds the life you want. Strength is a choice. Your choice. Every day. When you decide to show up differently, your life changes. When you decide to elevate your standards, your results change. When you decide to lead your mind instead of letting it lead you, everything changes. You will notice the shift first in your thoughts, in your posture, in your decisions. Then the world will notice in how you speak, how you move, how you carry yourself. Strength radiates. It becomes unmistakable. People feel it before you say a word. And that brings us to the most important truth of this chapter. When you grow strong inside, the noise outside loses its power over you. The world becomes less intimidating. People's opinions become less controlling. Setbacks become less discouraging. Fear becomes less convincing because a strong identity does not break under pressure. A strong identity grows under pressure. You're not building muscles. You're building a mindset. You're building a character. You're building an identity that can carry the success you want. And now that your foundation is rising, you're ready for the next chapter where you learn how to protect it. Because the strongest mind in the world means nothing if you let the world invade it. Chapter 2. Silence the noise. Guard your mind. The strongest version of you cannot rise in a mind filled with noise. Your mind is the battlefield where your future is either won or lost. Every day you wake up carrying a mind that wants to grow. Yet you place it in environments full of voices that shrink it. You scroll. You compare. You absorb opinions that don't belong to your identity. You listen to people who have no idea what your future demands. And before your day even begins, Your confidence has already taken its first hit. Noise doesn't just distract you. Noise distorts you. Noise disconnects you from the voice that matters most, your own. Most people think their problem is lack of discipline, lack of clarity, or lack of consistency. But the deeper issue is this. Their mind is so crowded with the voices of the world that they can no longer hear the direction of their own potential. You cannot build a strong life inside a noisy head. Silencing the noise is not a luxury. It is survival. Guarding your mind is not optional. It is essential. Your attention is not free. It is your most expensive currency. Where your attention goes, your identity grows. Where your attention goes, your confidence grows. Where your attention goes, your future goes. The wrong input destroys the right identity, and the right input destroys the wrong identity. This is why you must reclaim your mind with intention, because confidence is not built by repeating affirmations. It's built by removing contamination. Mental pollution makes strong people act small. It makes capable people hesitate. It makes brilliant people question themselves. And nothing kills potential faster than a mind that doubts itself. Think about how quickly your state changes when you scroll through the lives of others. Comparison pulls you into insecurity. Criticism pulls you into defense. Random content pulls your mind into chaos. The more noise you consume, the less power you hold. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak. You're overwhelmed because you're overstimulated. Silencing the noise begins with the courage to unplug, not permanently, but intentionally. Your mind is not meant to process thousands of signals before breakfast. You need space. You need simplicity. You need silence. That is why the 90-minute focus block is one of the strongest tools you can adopt. During this block, every notification is off. Every app is closed. Every distraction is eliminated. This is your first act of reclaiming your power. This is where you learn how to hear yourself again. During these 90 minutes, you're no longer responding. You are creating. You're no longer comparing. You are building. You're no longer absorbing. You are choosing. Next comes your attention. Whitelist and blacklist. Choose 3 sources that elevate you. Mentors, books, voices, philosophies. These are the voices that strengthen your identity. These are the ideas that remind you who you are becoming. Now, create your blacklist. 5 sources that consistently weaken you. People who drain your energy. Platforms that steal your focus. Accounts that trigger comparison. Content that feeds anxiety. Voices that remind you of the version of you you've outgrown. When you decide what enters your mind, you decide who you become. Your attention is not a doorway. It is a fortress. Treat it like one. And then comes the most difficult task. You must remove 10 people who make you feel smaller, not because you are better than them, but because you are building a life that requires mental clarity. Energy is contagious, and negative energy spreads the fastest. Some people love the weaker version of you because it makes them feel comfortable. When you grow, you threaten their identity. When you rise, you call out their stagnation. When you evolve, you force them to confront the truth they've been avoiding. Not everyone can walk with you into your future, and that is okay. Guarding your mind also means mastering the internal noise, the thoughts that repeat themselves when you're alone. You can turn off your phone, but if you don't turn off self-doubt, the noise continues. The greatest noise is not the world. It is the untrained inner voice that questions your worth. You must teach your mind to speak differently, to speak with leadership instead of fear, to speak with intention instead of insecurity, to speak with clarity instead of confusion. Say it. My mind is my territory. I guard it. Identity grows in silence. Confusion grows in chaos. Strength grows in discipline. Weakness grows in distraction. This is why solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is leverage. This is where ideas form. This is where confidence forms. This is where identity forms. You must learn to sit with yourself long enough to remember who you are. The paradox of Chapter 2 is simple. The world outside you becomes manageable the moment the world inside you becomes quiet. When your mind is calm, criticism loses impact. When your mind is strong, comparison loses relevance. When your mind is guarded, negativity loses access. When your mind is intentional, fear loses control. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop absorbing, you start creating, you stop shrinking, you start rising. Now ask yourself the questions most people never dare to face. What voices have I allowed inside my head that don't belong there? What thoughts do I repeat that sabotage my potential? What noise am I addicted to that keeps me from hearing myself? Because the strongest version of you doesn't come from better information. It comes from better attention. Your attention builds your reality. Your reality builds your identity. Your identity builds your future. Say it again. My attention builds my life. The moment you believe that sentence is the moment everything changes. Silencing the noise is not about isolation. It's about liberation. It's about freeing your mind from distractions so your future can finally breathe. And once your mind is quiet, you become dangerous. You see clearly. You move intentionally. You choose powerfully. You live deliberately because you're no longer controlled by noise. You are guided by identity. And that identity leads directly into Chapter 3, where you learn the next truth. The world doesn't need to believe in your future as long as you believe in it first. Chapter 3. Fight for your future. When no one believes in you, you don't need anyone else to believe in you. You only need yourself. Some of the most defining moments in life happen when you are completely alone mentally, emotionally, strategically. No one is cheering. No one understands. No one sees your vision. And in that silence, most people quit. But the strongest people, the ones who build legacies, the ones who leave a mark, have learned to fight for their future, even when no one else does. Belief is the soil in which achievement grows. If belief is weak, all else collapses. You may have resources. You may have talent. You may have opportunity. But without belief, your potential remains invisible, unrealized, and unclaimed. Self-belief is not a feeling. It is a discipline. You have experienced being underestimated. You have been overlooked. You have labored while others doubted your ability. You have delivered effort that went unrecognized. You have felt invisible. But your worth was never defined by recognition, applause, or validation. It was always defined by your action, your resilience, and your internal commitment. The world only follows those who lead themselves first. When you fight for your future, you begin with evidence. Small wins, daily victories, and repeated proof that you are moving in the right direction. This is why the evidence board exists. Each day, record one action that brings you closer to your goals, one small victory you can measure, one step that strengthens your identity. These micro-actions are the fuel of self-belief. They are tangible proof that you are serious about your future. Next, create a list of 25 reasons why you must succeed. Not for anyone else, not to impress the world, for yourself. Each reason should resonate with your identity, your purpose, your vision. Let it remind you why your future is non-negotiable. When doubt arises, your list becomes your anchor. Visualize your future self daily. Spend 2 minutes seeing the person you are becoming. Not a fantasy, but the version of yourself that embodies every trait you need to achieve your goals. See the posture, hear the voice, feel the confidence. Imagine the challenges overcome. Visualize not only success, but the discipline, courage, and decisions that create it. When you repeatedly show your mind this version, you are literally training it to respond as if that identity is already yours. The paradox is striking. People only believe after you succeed, but you must believe before anyone else does. Waiting for support is waiting for failure. Waiting for validation is surrendering agency. Waiting for motivation is giving your power away. The only power that matters is self-belief. Consistent, daily, unwavering, unshakable. To cultivate that belief, you must challenge the internal narratives that limit you. When you hear, "I'm not ready," respond, "I am becoming ready." When you hear, "I'll never achieve this," respond, "I'm learning the way forward." When the past whispers failure, respond, "My future defines me now." Every internal debate is a battle for identity. Who wins these debates determines who you will become. Resistance is inevitable. The moment you decide to fight for your future, you will encounter doubt, fear, and opposition. From others, but more importantly, from yourself. The old self will attempt to cling. Comfort will whisper. Your previous failures will speak. And you will have two choices: surrender or rise. Surrender reinforces the weaker identity. Rising strengthens the one who can accomplish anything. Remember, true self-belief is never loud. It does not need applause. It does not require recognition. It is quiet, unwavering, and deliberate. It manifests in the repeated decisions to show up, act, and move forward even when there is no visible progress. The daily rituals of self-belief matter more than the milestones you chase. When you repeatedly choose identity over feelings, consistency over mood, and action over hesitation, your mind begins to trust you. Self-rust is the currency of power. Self-rust transforms effort into momentum. Self-rust elevates ordinary action into extraordinary growth. Do not wait for someone else to light your path. Enough for today. We will meet again in another amazing video. Make sure to subscribe Mind Over Pages for support us and make our family bigger.